Hello there sexy PlayStation gamers, and welcome back to another Pure PlayStation video preview on Pure Play TV, and today we've got Windbound. Windbound is not what I was expecting. At first glance it does look a lot like Zelda Breath of the Wild, and its gameplay is a little similar in that you can gather materials and craft stuff, but the similarities end there. Windbound stands on its own boat and rides the waves on its own wind. It actually reminds me more of Zelda the Wind Waker than Breath of the Wild. The game starts off with our hero, Kara, a warrior, waking up on a deserted island. Unfortunately, there are no FedEx packages to rip open, and there's no Wilson to keep you company. All you've got are your wits, or in my case, a severe lack of them. And I'm not joking on that part, I literally had no idea what I was doing for a while. But I figured it out, so you'll be okay too. Because if a fool like me can craft a makeshift boat together out of bits of island crap, then you'll be just fine. Windbound is all about exploring and using what you've got to hand. Resources aren't unlimited, and you'll really need to comb over every nook and cranny to get the most out of every island location. My adventure started poorly. I found a pig-like animal, and I wanted to kill it because I'm a person who plays video games, and that's what 25 years of playing has conditioned me to do when I see something I'm not familiar with. Kill it. I died. The animal, a razorback, smashed into me a few times, and I was a goner. The next time around though, I took my time and I had a good mooch about to see what I could gather in the hope that I'd be able to make a decent weapon of sorts. You do have your trusty knife on you at all times, and while it's great for cutting the long grass, it's next to useless in combat. So, I gathered what I could, and I made a rudimentary slingshot, and then I stood atop a rock and flung rocks at the razorback. Huzzah! It was finally dead. The slingshot wasn't the best ranged weapon I've ever used in a game, and the aiming was a bit difficult, but I got there in the end, and I won. Chris won, Razorback, well, it killed me 3 times in total, so 3-1, but we'll call it a draw. Killing animals is, unfortunately for PETA, necessary to survive. I ran over to the dead Razorback and I retrieved some goodies, including its skin and bones. This is Windbound. You explore the random islands, gather whatever you can get your hands on, and then you move on to the next one using your handcrafted vessel. Sailing from one island to the next is probably where I had my most fun, or at least where I felt most at ease. Upgrading from a dinky raft to something a bit more substantial was satisfying, and once I was travelling on the powers of the wind, I really enjoyed hopping from one island to the other. It reminded me a lot of Wind Waker, and in that game I did spend more time on the water than I did on land, because when I was on land I was always getting killed, because I was a little kid, I didn't understand the game properly. Don't judge me. On the technical side, Windbound is impressive, albeit a touch rough. It doesn't have the production values of a AAA blockbuster, and it shows in its not quite smooth animations. It was hardly a problem, mind you, and if anything, I found it a little bit more human. Like, I can tell from the way it plays, looks and moves, that this isn't a by-the-numbers production by hundreds of cubicle workers, but a small team of passionate nerds want to put something different, yet familiar, on our gaming plates. I love that, even if it is just my romanticised imagining of how such games are made. Windbound has a lot going for it. It's something different in a very crowded genre. We've seen dozens of survival games over the course of this console generation, and not to knock on any of them, but once you've played one, you've basically played them all. That wasn't the feeling I got from Windbound. In fact, I didn't even register it as being in that genre while I was playing. Throwing the camera behind the character instead of having the gameplay out in first person immediately opens up the game, and it really feels a lot more like an adventure game that I need to survive, not a survival game with an adventure tacked on. Windbound will release on August 28th, 2020 on PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PC and Stadia, and this preview was carried out using an early code provided by the publisher. The preview was based on a PC build of the game, running at the recommended requirements. And surprisingly, my computer did not blow up. Yes! And that brings us to the end of this preview. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you stayed till the end. If you did, good job. And maybe hit that like and subscribe buttons down below so that we can keep bringing you more lovely stuff to watch. Until next time, keep washing your hands, keep playing games, and stay ever so sexy. Until then, bye!